Maybe we'll first take someone from the audience this time, in preference, before we go to the online questions. Is there a question from the audience? Maybe I can start with one question for, for Luigi. Yeah. So, can you quickly explain your box? Where is it actually installed? Is it installed at the utility, or is it installed at the well? Is it very decentralized? Yeah. And what would be the necessity if it would have to be installed in a way, very decentralized way? Or just kind of give me some more explanation on that.
So basically, as I said, it can be installed almost anywhere, really from the water catchment, so to monitor the raw water. Then in all the water treatment plant, after filtration processes or after disinfection processes, and then directly on the water network, either close to a reservoir or as close as possible to the customer.
And what would be the resource requirements in terms of maintenance or even kind of services that you would have, that this, even if it's very decentralized, I can imagine being at a pump somewhere, what would be required so that you can really guarantee that it's always functional and reliable?
Yeah, so basically the instrument can measure 1,000 times before any action is needed. So let's say that you measure 6 times a day. You will last for a few months without any service that is needed.
Okay. Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let's take another question from the plenum, right here. Oh, yeah. We can't share the mics. I think we have to use like a clean mic.
Sorry about that. Didn't realize the complexity of COVID mics.
I guess.
So, question for Igor. You mentioned that obviously because it's underwater drones, the sensor is light. But is it light imagery? Are you looking for cracks? Or are you actually using laser-based sensors to be able to figure out, let's say, corrosion or any different change in the metallic surfaces that you're inspecting?
So our initial payload and visual, so we have a camera, a pretty sophisticated camera system and lighting system to just identify the problem areas. We also plan to add a UT sensor for corrosion measurements to measure the metal thickness. And then it actually depends on really the necessity of a particular application. The beauty that we're not building just a drone, we have a platform, so we can relatively easy put things together for a particular application to address those inspection needs.
Maybe I can just add on to that a question of mine. I mean, I understand that you have various sensors that you can build into the drone, and one of them is the camera, but also other sensors that measure. And what you were mentioning on the light is more the data transfer, right? So that the wireless system, and as I understood. But how does that work when you have a very turbid or rather turbid situations? I mean, I was saying before, I'm a diver, and if you go into Swiss lakes in summer, you don't see very much,
right?
Unless you go very deep. But how do you kind of solve that issue? I'm sure offshore that can also be a big challenge.
Yeah, so you need to think about light as like if you're a diver, you go down from the surface of the water, down, 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 down. If you still see things around you, this means that the light still penetrates where you are, even though it's turbid. So it doesn't mean that you have to have a direct line of sight. It's important that the light just penetrates where you are, and that's the beauty of the light. It actually has a very nice feature of bouncing back from particles in the water and get to the place where it needs to be. But indeed, overall, the more turbid water is, the harder it is for the light to go through. So you will lose some of the speed or some of the for instance, in a normal transparent water, we would send data at 10 megabits per second. In a turbid water, probably it will drop to a couple of megabits per second. Yeah.
So it's more then a function of speed of data transfer.
It's range and speed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Maybe we have a question online.
Yes, we have a few questions online. Maybe I can start with the one for Khaled, Innovate. What type of membranes are you using? What is the daily water production capacity of your system? And did you mention you don't use chemicals? What about the regeneration process?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. So the idea is that we use both polymeric and ceramic membranes, depending on the fluid that we have to treat. For surface water, we use polymeric membranes. For industrial fluids, we use more or less ceramic membranes. And we use different techniques like frontal filtration for surface water, and cross-flow or dynamic cross-flow for industrial fluids. So it depends really on the fluid. The hardware part we can change the hardware part. The software part, which is with the process, going on with the process, and this is the patented thing that we have, is that we have developed a process that doesn't need any chemical enhanced backwash. So we don't need to use acid or bases in order to regenerate the membranes. Our sweet spot in the treatment is between 1 cubic meter and 20 cubic meter per hour, but because we are doing containerized systems, but now we are working on a project for 50 cubic meter per hour. So yeah, I hope it answers the questions.
Okay, thanks very much, Khaled. I think it did answer the question.
I hope.
Next question.
Yes. So the next is for Emanuele, microturbines. How does the microturbine deal with the low energy downstream water?
With the low energy downstream water, actually what happens, the turbine to spin needs to have a pressure drop which is already present in the process, which means if you have a valve which is already there for whatever reasons to adapt the pressure to the users, there you have a pressure drop, which means energy wasted that can be used for free by activating the turbine. So then the water downstream the turbine just gets into the process and usually is bypassed. The turbine is mounted on a bypass, so the water stream from the turbine is connected again to the main line, so there is no waste of water. Simply like a river, you have two diversions. A great part goes in the valve or whatever pipe, and the small part goes into the turbine.
Okay. Lost connection.
Yes, so we lost you. So we can take one last question on Hermit, which is for Luigi Innovate. And maybe we can address also this question to Fabio. What is your biggest challenge for scale-up?
Yeah, the biggest one. Yes, now I think the biggest challenge is to build like the right team and to find the right partners to be able to smoothly develop all the activities related to commercialization, selling, servicing, and so on. It's a quite big challenge.
Can I just add on a question? Do you also have a demand for more information rather than, I would say, the standard bacterial loads?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of discussion now in the pandemic what things can be measured in water. Do you notice that there is kind of a more demand for, I would say, specialized substances or bacteria?
Yes.
that you would need to be developing further?
Of course, it's part of our R&D activities. So the Bactosense now is measuring, detecting all the bacteria that are in the water. And now we are developing new solution that will be able to specifically detect pathogens. We speak a lot about Legionella, about E. coli for fecal pollution, and so on. So yeah, of course, this is a...
Also, at the moment, it's a total count.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Igor, do you also want to answer that question? Your biggest challenge for scaling? Or you feel like you're already scaling enough?
No.
It seems like you're already all over.
We're scaling up, yes. I think, first of all, we're hiring, and the biggest challenge is to find talent. People who could be passionate about this. I mean, there are many, of course, but then that would fit the culture of the company and the growth of the company that we have. So welcome. If anybody is listening and really wants to get into the underwater drones, please look up on our website. We do have some positions open. Another thing, of course, is that as we start to produce, we need to look at how do we scale up production side. And that's, of course, is a new thing. So it's one thing to have an R&D department. It's another thing to build up another production department. That's something exactly what we're looking at right now, okay, to catch up with demand.
Okay, thanks very much. Yes, can we also have an answer from Emmanuel on that? Emmanuel, are you still here?
Yes.
On the terms of scaling?
Basically, the issues are somehow the same. On one side, one thing is working on R&D, and since we came from a, let's say, scientific background, we will know how to deal with it, and we know how to also to recruit people with this sort of expertise. The other thing is moving on to manufacturing, especially a component like ours, which is a blend of components, some mechanics, some electrics, some electronics, which has to seamlessly integrate. So the whole challenge is finding the right suppliers, finding the right people that can talk and deal with these suppliers with a very practical mindset. We have also to look up around, to continuously scan the landscape of manufacturing, to identify new manufacturing techniques to make the device scalable, because once it's producing 10 pieces, once it's producing 1,000 pieces. So we have all the issues about quality, replicability, and so forth. So, and the same goes for internationalizations. We are now focusing on some countries, but we have in the pipeline ideas for other countries. But as a general rule, we prefer to stick first to some countries and have a sufficient, say, installation base of units before going elsewhere. So it's basically work threefold. On one side, R&D to have always new products and new evolution with the products, both in terms of hardware and software. On the other side, the manufacturing issues with all the issues related to having a replicable, scalable product cheap enough in terms of no costs. And on the third side, all what is sales and global sales.
Okay, thanks very much, Emmanuel. Khaled, would you also like to comment on challenges of scaling, please?
Yeah, the main challenges to scale for scaling is finding the right partners. I think now, as I said, we are fundraising 3 million euro. We have secured more than 1 million now. It's 1.2 million euro. So it's also challenging. Yeah, we as we have an IP-driven business model, we have to be pretty careful with the IP and patents that we have to fill in every country that we will deploy our systems. So those are the main challenges for us in the next 3 years.
Thanks very much, Khaled. And last but not least, Jan. Are you still here with us? Would you also like, no, I think did he drop out? Jan Graber, are you still here? No. Okay. Okay, so then I think we're already a bit over time, and I definitely don't want to eat into the time of the networking or the lunch break. So thanks very much first of all, for everybody pitching, the first group and the second group. I think we can give them a hand for excellent pitches. And of course, also for your contributions, for your attention. I think for me, this was also a very exciting session on innovative and impactful water technologies. And I think it's very clear that the market goes way beyond Switzerland. I think everybody demonstrated that and made it very clear that although the innovation comes from this area, I think the way forward, the pathways for expansion, for scaling, for market is very much global. And I think that's super exciting for Switzerland, but also, of course, for the world to have these new technologies implemented. So thanks very much for your attention. So I'd like to close the session. You know where the areas is. Please make sure of the hygiene. Oh, I'll pass the word right to you.
No problem. I just wanted to pick up on what you were going to say just now, the hygiene
leave the
rules.
word to you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Christian, for doing such an amazing job. Hands together. Great job to participants online and live. Thank you for being with us. And back to your